once a trader deems it meets his or her fundamental criteria, technical criteria, etc., a lot of people in our audience ask, okay, when should I be buying throughout the day? Is it okay to buy close to the open? Do I need to see, an hour plus of trade to see if the stock settles down or to see if the market starts selling off? How do you handle when to buy stock?
Well, this just came up I mentioned it on Twitter the other day. Ray over at Trader Lion had put something up about how he likes to trade early in the morning. And that's something that I always used to do back when I was in research, Juan's research department from 97 to 2000 or the end of 99. Most of the time, pre-market, I would have to set my alerts or buy stops, and it was just limited time to be able to watch the market. So all the people that have real jobs that don't get to sit in front of the screen, like at least now you have iPhones that you can, look and check your prices, but we didn't really have that. So I just got in the habit of putting my orders in at the open. And I used a lot of buy stops back in those days. And so I just got in the habit of buying during what's called amateur hour, and a lot of people just make fun of buying in the first hour, because what'll happen is when a stock is set up to go up, a lot of people will put in market orders at the open, it'll gap up, and then it'll come in and fade and then shake those people out. And so lots of times people like buying after about an hour after things start settling in, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just like buying it when it goes through the point, or selling it if it goes through my point. And I brought that up with Bill once because everyone would make fun of me for, trading during amateur hour, but I tend to kind of do what, be to my own drummer, so to speak, and was still doing it. And I asked him, he said, if the stock should be bought or sold, just do it. Doesn't matter what time it is. Like, he just didn't care. And so then I just kept doing it. So I still do a lot of my trades in the first part of the day and then at the end of the day. But I like to use TWAPs. So it's time weighted average price. So you can put it in, let's say a stock is going through your point, but you're like, geez, I bet you this thing is going to fade in a little bit. You can put a TWAP in for 100 shares. Like, this is not something that was available to us as traders, as individuals years ago. You had to have an institutional account to be able to do a TWAP or a percent of volume, which is another type of order that I like. But you can just put if it's going through a buy point, you can put a TWAP in for the entire day. That way it breaks out your trade throughout the day. And I like doing that. I typically do TWAPs for like an hour, and then I'll go in and adjust, and sometimes I'll raise my stop on it, because you want to have a top price on a limit that, so you're not paying crazy prices for it, but I'll adjust. But I think people should investigate the algo trades that are out there, because it's a huge, huge resource. It was only for the big guys and girls back in the day.
Mike, so for a lot of the leading stocks, it seems like their setups that they are forming and have formed in recent weeks are more aggressive entries versus your, larger bases and things like that, like a pullback and a bounce off of the 21-day line, or, some 3 and 4 weeks tights, or maybe even high tight flags that are in the works, shelves that you have talked about. How do you go about position sizing for those sorts of entries versus your more traditional base patterns?
That's a big topic, and what I do is not what most people should do. You need to find the sweet spot for yourself. And so I like to think of position sizing and just rating everything A through F. So how's the market A through F? What would you guys rate the market right now?
An A.
An A. Arusha, do you agree?
Yeah, I would
I don't
say
want you slacking.
A minus.
You've tuned me out. I can see
A
it in your
minus.
eyes. Mike is talking.
What more could you want?
Okay,
I
so
always like to leave room, Allie.
so the market's an A. Then it is how is your personal trading going? And then that changes, all the time. You're either in the zone, you're out of the zone. When
Yeah.
you're in the zone, do everything you can to stay in the zone, because being out of the zone is not fun. Been there, done that. Have lots of t-shirts involved with that. And so the worse you're doing, the smaller the position size you want to be. So if you
Right.
feel like you're trading as an F, your position size is going to be smaller. Then the stock itself, you rate each stock and see how many flaws, and we'll probably get into that in a little bit of rating the stock. That'll determine the position size. And then besides the stock is the setup, which is your question that you were asking. So if it's a nice base pattern that I'm buying out of, and I have an alternative pivot, that's going to be an A for me. If it's a 3 weeks tight, that might be a B, or a bounce off the 21, that might be a B. So in a nutshell, you're rating the market, you're rating your how you're doing, you're rating how the stock is fundamentally and technically, then you're rating that particular setup and how you do that. Like some people do really well at like buying off of the 50-day, like Charles Harris, that was like the best at buying off the 50-day in my opinion, because he just had this, he was wired that way. And I'm terrible at buying off the 50-day. I can buy off the 21, but after the 50-day, once it's getting there, lots of times I just think it looks, I picture in my mind that it's going to fall apart. And so I wait to see some strength there, whereas he could buy it as it was coming into the 50-day. So it's really how that setup works for you. Like a nice downtrend line, alternative pivot in a base is my A plus. Like I love that. A standard pivot, and we'll look at it at some, those are lower quality for me, just because you're more likely for it to get a little spike up and then come in and take you out. Hope that but I spread out. Like I'll own 1 million stocks, but I'm comfortable that way. I like doing that. That's my comfort zone. Bill Wood, his goal was to pile it all into one stock on full margin. And that was his comfort zone. That's where he did the best. So you just want to find what works the best for you. And everyone is different.